Hello, students. Welcome to Mr. Sandwich Reads. I am Mr. Sandwich. Today I'm reading Chapter 17 of Jerry Spinelli's Stargirl. And when we left off in Chapter 16, there was a bit of chemistry really forming between Leo and Stargirl. We know her popularity at school has fallen off since joining cheerleading. She's been now kicked off of that team. She had a tomato thrown at her at the big basketball game. She was rooting for everyone to score, not just her team. And we'll see where we're going here. But in the last chapter, Leo went over to outside her house, was curious about Stargirl. And she came out. He played a little bit with Cinnamon. And you can listen to that. That's also up on my YouTube. So if you haven't listened to, if you're about to listen to 17, make sure you've listened to 16. All right, this is on page 85 if you got my copy. Here we go. Chapter 17, Jerry Spinelli's Stargirl. Just 2 weeks before, I had found out she knew my name, and now I was loopy with love. Oh, there you go. Now he just came out and said it. They're in love. I was floating. I floated up the white light that washed my sheets and slept on the moon. In school, I was a yellow balloon, smiling and lazy, floating above the classrooms. I felt a faint tug on my string. Far below, Kevin was calling, "You're in love, dude." I merely smiled and rolled over and drifted dreamily out a window. This state lasted until lunch, when suddenly I became self-conscious. I was certain that everyone in school knew. They would be waiting for me, turning as I entered the lunchroom, staring. I was uncomfortable in the spotlight, always had been. I was happy to stay behind the camera and let Kevin take the bows out front. So, I hid for those 35 minutes in the gym equipment room. I sat atop a rolled-up wrestling mat, kicking a volleyball against the opposite wall. I had nothing to eat. I had intended to buy, but I wasn't hungry. After school, we found each other, not that we had to look. She took Cinnamon from her bag and put him on her shoulder.
Edition of Mr. Sandwich
Shake
Reads. I am Mr.
shake
Sandwich.
paws with
I'm
Leo,
Mike here.
Cinnamon.
Today I'm going to be
Cinnamon
reading
and
chapter
I shook
15
paws.
of Jerry Spinelli's
Do you believe in
Stargirl.
enchanted places? She said. You
She
talking
gave
to me or
everybody
the
in
rat?
school a card.
She smiled.
That was
she
my first
dazzled.
thought.
You.
When I saw
don't
Kevin
know,
at school,
said.
I was about
I
to
never
ask
thought
him,
about
but
it.
I pulled back. I waited until lunch.
I'm
I
going
tried
to show
to be
you one.
casual. I
What if
slipped
I
it
don't
in
wanna
was
see
the
it?
only thing that mattered
You think
that
you have
day.
a choice?
The school was
She
in
grabbed my
mourning.
hand and
The
almost
game,
pulled me
the
off my
loss, the
feet,
tomato.
laughing out
Oh, yeah.
loud. And we flew
Incidentally,
across the
speaking
school
of Stargirl,
fields, swinging hands
did you
for all
happen
the
to
world
get a
to
card?
see. We
He
walked
looked at
for
me funny.
miles, out past
She
the
gave
business
them to
park,
her homeroom, I heard.
Microtronics, the golf
Yeah, I
course,
said,
into
that's
the
what I
desert.
heard too. But
Look
was that
familiar?
all?
She said.
Didn't she give them to
By now,
everybody
Cinnamon
else?
was riding on
He
my
shrugged.
shoulder,
Not
and
to
I was
me.
carrying
Why?
the
You
ukulele,
get one?
strumming nonsense.
He was looking
It's
away
where we came
across
that
the
day, I
lunchroom,
said.
biting into
She
his
gave a
sandwich.
snort.
Yet I felt he was grinning.
I was coming
he
out
was
here.
grilling me.
You were half a
Excuse me.
mile behind. She
I
poked my
shook my
shoulder,
head.
sneaking
no,
after me.
Just wondering.
She poked me again, hard this
Actually,
time.
I was sitting
but
on
her
the
eyes
card.
were twinkling.
It was in the back
stalking
pocket
me.
of my jeans.
I acted
Meanwhile,
horrified.
all eyes in the
Stalking?
lunchroom
I was not
were on
stalking. I
Stargirl.
was just
I think we
lagging
half
behind
expected
a
to
little.
see
That's
traces
all.
of red still
Following
clinging
me.
to her face.
I shrugged.
She sat at her
So?
usual table with
Why?
Dory Dilson and
I
several
could feel a
other
million
friends,
reasons, but there
She
were no
seemed
words to
subdued.
express them.
which means
I don't know.
calm.
Do you think?
Or,
Did you like her this
lacking
whole
energy,
time?
which
Why was he
is not
so
really
intrigued?
like
Why was he
Stargirl
following
that we've
her?
gotten to know her.
I don't know.
She's not really subdued usually.
You liked me.
She did not
I
play her
smiled.
ukulele.
You were
she did not
smitten
play
with
with
me.
her
You were
rat.
speechless.
She just
Beho-
ate and
to my
talked with the girls at her
You were
table.
speechless to
At
behold
the lunch,
my beauty.
as the lunch period
You
was
had never
ending,
met
she
anyone
got
so
up, but did not
fascinating. You thought of me every waking minute. You
She did
dreamed
not
about
head
me.
straight
You
for the
couldn't
exit.
stand it. You couldn't
Instead,
let such
she detoured
wonderfulness
in the direction
out
of
of
my
your sight.
table.
You
I
had
panicked.
to follow me.
I jumped up.
I turned to
grabbed
Cinnamon.
my stuff,
He licked my
blurted,
nose.
"Gotta go."
Don't give yourself
Left
so
Kevin
much
with
credit.
his mouth hanging.
It was your
and
rat
took off.
I was after.
Not fast
She
enough.
laughed, and the
Halfway
desert
to the door, I
sang.
heard her behind me. "Hi, Leo." My face
To the
got
person
warm.
who expects
I
every
was
desert
sure
to be
every eye
barren
was
sand
turned
dunes,
to me.
the
I was sure they could all
Sonoran
see the card in my pocket.
Sonoran.
I pretended
Oh
to
my
look
gosh,
at the
you know
clock. I pretended I was
Sonoran
late for
must
something.
come as
I
a
ran
surprise.
from the lunchroom.
Not only are there no
I lurked in
dunes,
the shadows
there's no
for
sand.
the rest of the
At
day.
least not the
I
sort
went
of
straight home
sort
after
of sand.
school. I
Excuse me.
stayed in my
At least
room.
not the sort of
I
sand
came out only
you
for
find
dinner.
at the beach.
I told my
The
parents
ground
I had
does have a
project
sandy
to do.
color to it,
I
or
paced.
gray.
I
but
lay
your
on my
feet
bed
won't
and
sink
stared
in.
at the ceiling.
It's hard,
I stared
as
out
if
the
it's been
window. I
tamped.
laid the card on my study
and
desk.
pebbly,
I picked it up
and
I read
glinting
it.
with
I read
what
it.
else?
I read it. I played
But you don't
Leo
notice the
over
ground
and
much.
over in
What
my
you
head.
notice are the
I tossed
saguaros.
darts at the
To the
corkboard on the
newcomer
back
from
of
the
my
east,
door.
it's
My father
as
called
simple
in,
as that.
"What's your
The
project?
desert seems to be a
Darts?"
brown
I went
wasteland
out.
of dry,
I drove
prickly
around in the
scrub,
pickup.
whose
I drove
only
down her
purpose
street.
is to serve
At
as
the
a
last
setting for the
intersection
majestic
before her house, I
saguaros.
turned off.
Then,
For
little by
hours, I
little,
lay
the
under my
plants of the
sheet of
desert begin to
moonlight.
identify
Her
themselves.
voice came
The
through the
porcupiney
night, from the
yucca,
light,
the beaver
from the
tail,
stars.
and prickly
Hi, Leo.
pear, and barrel cacti,
In the morning,
buckhorn and
it was a
staghorn
Saturday.
and devil's fingers,
Kevin and I
the
went
tall
together to Archie's
sky-reaching
for the weekly
tendrils of
meeting
the
of the Loyal Order of the
Ocotillo.
Stonebone. There were
We
about
walked a
15 of
weaving
us.
line
We
around
wore
the
our
plant
fossil
life,
necklaces.
up and down
Archie
washes
wanted
and
to
gullies,
discuss the
the Maricopas
Eocene
looming
skull
lavender
he
in
was
the
holding.
distance.
I hope I
When
pronounced
you
that right.
turned and ran that
But all
day,
the others
she said,
could
I
talk
called
about
after you.
was the game. But all the
You
others
did?
could talk about was the game. When they
I
told Archie
whispered.
about the tomato,
Whispered?
his
How'd
eyebrows
you
went
expect
up.
me to hear? I
But
don't know,
other
she
than
said.
that,
I
his
just thought you
face did
would.
not change.
I strummed
thought,
the uke.
this is not
I squared
news
my
to him.
shoulders.
He
Giving a rat
already
a ride
knows.
improves the posture.
Archie spent the whole session
You're
that
shy,
way,
aren't you?
nodding
She
and
said.
smiling
What
and
makes you
raising
think
his
that?
eyebrows.
She laughed.
We
Were
dumped
you
our
embarrassed when I
disappointment on
pulled
him,
you along
the
after
devastation
school
of the
today?
loss.
All
He
those
said
kids
very
looking?
little. When it was
Nah.
over, he
Were
looked
you
down at the
lying?
skull in his lap
Yeah.
and patted it and
She
said,
laughed.
well, this
I
fellow
seemed to be
here
good at
lost
making
his
her
game
laugh.
too.
I glanced
He was
back.
winning for
The
10
highway
million
was out of
years or
sight.
so.
Do you
But
have
then
the
the
time?
early
I
grasses
said.
started growing up around
Nobody
him,
has the
and he
time,
found
she said.
himself in
The
a
time
different
cannot
league.
be owned. She
He
threw
hung
her
in there
out
as
her
well
arms
as he could.
and
He
twirled
scored
till
his
her
points, but he
multicolored
kept falling
skirt
farther
looked
and
like a
farther
pinwheel
behind.
taffy.
The
The time is
opposition
free
was
to
better,
everyone.
quicker, keener.
Sorry, I asked, I said.
In the
She hung her
championship game,
sunflower
our
bag
boy
on a
got
cactus arm
annihilated.
and cartwheeled
Not
toward
only
the
didn't he
Maricopas.
show up for class
Crazily,
the
I
next
felt
day,
like joining
he
her.
never
I
showed
told
up,
myself I
period.
couldn't because I was
They never
loaded
saw
down with
him
a
again.
ukulele and a rat.
There, Archie's
I
talking
picked up
about
her bag and
extinction.
followed. When she
Archie
decided to walk
lifted
like
the
a normal
snouted
human being again,
fox-sized
I
skull
told her she was
until it
goofy.
was side by
She
side
stopped,
with his own
turned to
face.
me, and bowed
A
grandly.
good minute passed as
Thank
he
you,
said
good
nothing,
sir.
inviting us into our own
Then
thoughts.
she took my arm
Faces
as if we were
staring
strolling
at
down
faces,
a promenade,
staring at
and
faces.
she said, "Scream, Leo."
Tens of
Huh?
millions of years
Just throw
of
your head
faces
back
in a
and
living
let it
room
all
in a
out.
place
Scream your
called
ears
Arizona.
off. Nobody will hear you. Why would I want to do
Chapter
that?
15.
She turned her astonished eyes on me. Why wouldn't you? I pointed to Cinnamon. If he screams first, then I will. And I changed the subject. Are we ever going to get to this enchanted place? I felt silly just saying the words. Just a little farther, she said. I humored her. So how do you know an enchanted place when you come to it? You'll see, she said. She squeezed my hand. Did you ever know there's a county with officially designated enchanted places? No, I said. Where would that be? Oz? Iceland. Imagine that. I'm ignoring your sarcasm. I think it would be neat if we had that here. You'd be walking or riding along, and there would be this stone marker with a brass plate. Enchanted site. U.S. Department of Interior. We'd litter it up, I said. She stared at me, her smile gone. Would we? I felt bad, as if I had ruined something. Not really, I told her. Not if there's a "Don't be a litterbug" sign. A minute later, she stopped. We're here. I looked around. The place couldn't have been more ordinary. The only notable presence was a tall, dilapidated saguaro, a bundle of sticks, in worse shape than Archie's senior. The rest was gray scrub and tumbleweed and a few prickly pears. I thought it might look different, I said. Special? Scenic? Yeah, I guess. It's a different kind of scenery, she said. Shoes off. We pulled off our shoes. Sit. We sat, legs crossed. Cinnamon scampered down my arm and onto the ground. Stargirl shrieked. Stop! She scooped up the rat and put him in her bag. Owls, hawks, snakes. He'd be a tasty meal. So, I said, when does the enchantment start? We were sitting side by side facing the mountains. It started when the earth was born. Her eyes were closed. Her face was golden in the setting sun. It never stops. It is always. It's just here. So what do we do? She smiled. That's the secret. Her cupped hands rested in her lap. We do nothing. Or as close to nothing as we can. Her face turned slowly to me, though her eyes remained closed. Have you ever done nothing? I laughed. My mother thinks I do it all the time. Don't tell her I said so, but your mother is wrong. She turned back to the sun. It's really hard to do nothing totally. Even just sitting here like this, our bodies are churning, our minds are chattering. There's a whole commotion going on inside us. Sounds like she's describing meditation. That's bad, I said. It's bad if we want to know what's going on outside ourselves. Don't we have eyes and ears for that? She nodded. They're okay most of the time, but sometimes they just get in the way. The earth is speaking to us, but we can't hear because all the racket our senses are making. Sometimes we need to erase them, erase our senses. Then, maybe, the earth will touch us. The universe will speak. The stars will whisper. The sun was glowing orange now, clipping the mountain's purple crests. So, how do I become this nothing? I'm not sure, she said. There's no one answer to that. You have to find your own way. Sometimes I try to erase myself. I imagine a big pink soft soap eraser, and it's going back and forth, and it starts down at my toes, back and forth, and there they go. Poof! My toes are gone. And then my feet, and then my ankles, and that's the easy part. The hard part is erasing my senses, my ears, my eyes, my ears, my nose, my tongue. And last to go is my brain. My thoughts, memories, all the voices inside my head, that's the hardest, erasing my thoughts. She chuckled faintly. My pumpkin. And then, if I've done a good job, I'm erased. I'm gone. I'm nothing. And then the world is free to flow into me like water into an empty bowl. And, I said, and I see, I hear, but not with eyes and ears. I'm not outside. I'm not outside my world anymore, and I'm not really inside it either. The thing is, there's no difference anymore between me and the universe. The boundary is gone. I am it, and it is me. I am a stone, a cactus thorn. I am rain, she smiled dreamily. I like that most of all, being rain. Am I the first one you've brought out here? She didn't answer. She faced the mountains, bathed in sun syrup, her face as still and peaceful as I've ever seen it on a face. Stargirl. Shh. That was the last sound either of us made for a long time. We sat side by side, lotus style, facing west. I closed my eyes. I tried to be perfectly still and promptly found out that she was right. I could immobilize my arms and legs, but inside me it was a rush hour in downtown Phoenix. I had never been so aware of my breath and my heartbeat, not to mention other assorted grumblings and gurglings. In my head, it just wouldn't close down. Every question, every stray thought from miles around came wandering into my brain, sniffing about, scratching at my attention. But I tried. I tried the eraser, but it wouldn't even wipe out the first toe. I tried to imagine I was sawdust blowing away with the wind, swallowed by a whale, dissolving away like Alka-Seltzer. Nothing worked. I could not make myself disappear. I peeked. I knew I wasn't supposed to, but I did. Clearly, she had erased herself. She was gone. She was serenity, her lips faintly smiling, her golden skin, the glowing thread ends of her hair. She seemed to have been dipped in sunlight and set here to dry. I felt a pang of jealousy that she could be sitting next to me and not know it, that she could be somewhere most wonderful, and I could not be there too. Then I saw the rat. He had crawled out of the bag. He was sitting on it much as we were. His front paws, I kept thinking of them as tiny hands, they were so human like, dangling before him. He, too, was not moving. He, too, was facing the sunset, his pelt the color of a new penny. His peppercorn eyes were fully open. I knew it must have been a trick she had taught him, or imitative rodent behavior. Still, I couldn't help thinking there was more to it, that the whiskered little fellow was having an experience of his own, which might include digestion in a critter's stomach if Stargirl's fears came true. As quietly as possible, I reached over and scooped him up. I held him in both hands. He did not struggle or squirm, but resumed facing the sunset with his tiny chin resting on my forefingers. In my fingertips, I could feel his heartbeat. I drew him closer to my chest. I dared any varmint to come near. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes for another try at enchantment. I don't think I succeeded. I think Cinnamon was a better eraser than I. I tried. I tried so hard. I almost squeaked. But I could not seem to leave myself, and the cosmos did not visit me. I could not stop wondering what time it was. But something did happen, a small thing. I was aware of stepping over a line, of taking one step into territory new to me. It was a territory of peace, of silence. I had never experienced such utter silence before, such stillness. The commotion within me went on, but at a lower volume, as if someone had turned down my dial. And an eerie thing happened. While I never did totally lose awareness of myself, I believe I did, so to speak, lose Cinnamon. I no longer felt his pulse, his presence in my hands. It seemed we were no longer separate, but were one. When the sun fell behind the mountains, I felt it as a faint coolness on my face. I don't know how long my eyes were closed. When I opened them, she was gone. Alarmed, I jerked around. She was standing off a ways, smiling. Evening had come. While my eyes were closed, the mountain's dusky lavender had drifted over the desert. We put on our shoes. We headed for the highway. I expected her to interrogate me, but she did not. One moment the moon was there, and then it was. Oh, excuse me. One moment the moon was not there, and then it was. Then one bright star. We walked across the desert, hand in hand, saying nothing. That's usually a sign of a very healthy relationship when two people can be together and really share an experience, even if they're not talking. I like this chapter. To me, a huge theme in the book Stargirl is really about being in touch with yourself, being in touch with humanity, and being in touch with the universe at large. On my best days, when I'm optimistic like Stargirl, I see that we're all made of the same matter. We all kind of are just floating atoms and particles, and we all at some point came from stardust that formed into this earth and this universe that we know. But on most of my days, I am like Leo, where I'm not feeling that connectedness. But we see that connectedness as embodied by Stargirl. So this is really we're kind of getting into the rising action of the book. Nearly at the climax of the book, but really the themes are starting to come alive here as we see the dynamic form between Leo and Stargirl. So hope you're enjoying. That was chapter 17 of Stargirl. And keep following along. Just a little bit more to go before we finish Jerry Spinelli's Stargirl. All right. Thanks for listening. Peace.